You wake up, your alarm goes off, and in the next 60 seconds, you're going to make a choice that either sets your whole day up for energy and clarity or quietly stacks another brick onto a wall of inflammation, stress hormones, and cellular damage that builds up year after year. Stick with me for the next few minutes, because I'm going to walk you through 5 things that almost everyone does before 8 in the morning that are silently aging your body faster than a pack of cigarettes would. And by the end of this video, you'll know exactly what to do instead, using nothing but free, natural habits that our grandparents practiced without even thinking twice about it. Welcome to Bio Living, the only channel where we go deep into rebuilding your life naturally, where we help you make your life healthier and better. We dig up the knowledge that the media and big pharma would rather you never find out about. If that sounds like your kind of channel, make sure to subscribe so you don't miss our daily uploads. Now let's get into it. Most people think aging is just something that happens to you. Wrinkles show up, energy fades, joints get stiff, and you just accept it as the cost of getting older. But here's what most people don't realize. A huge part of that aging process isn't determined by your genes or your birthday. It's determined by tiny habits you repeat every single morning, habits so normal that you don't even question them anymore. And some of the worst offenders happen in the first hour after you open your eyes. Think about your own morning right now. Alarm goes off, phone comes up. Maybe you scroll for a few minutes before you even sit up. Then you're in the kitchen, coffee brewing, and you haven't had a single sip of water yet. This isn't a personal failing. This is simply what modern life has trained almost all of us to do. Nobody sat you down and taught you that this sequence was harmful. It became the default because it's convenient, and convenience is exactly what modern industry sells us, often at the cost of what our biology actually needs. Let's start with habit number 1, and this one is going to surprise you. It's checking your phone the second you wake up. I know you've heard it before, but stay with me for a moment. I know almost everyone does this. Alarm goes off, and within seconds your thumb is already scrolling. But here's the problem. The moment you wake up, your brain is still producing a hormone called melatonin, the same hormone responsible for keeping you asleep. Your body is supposed to slowly shift from melatonin into cortisol, which is your natural wake-up hormone, giving you alertness and energy for the day. This shift is supposed to happen gradually, triggered by natural light hitting your eyes. But when you shove a bright screen in front of your face first thing in the morning, you force an unnatural spike. Research on light exposure and circadian rhythms has shown that blue light from screens can suppress melatonin production abruptly instead of letting it fade out naturally, which confuses your internal clock. Over time, this constant confusion has been linked in sleep studies to higher stress hormone levels throughout the day, and chronically elevated stress hormones are associated with faster cellular aging, poor immune function, and even weight gain around the belly. Here's a detail that most people never hear about. Your eyes have special receptors, separate from the ones that let you see shapes and colors, whose entire job is to detect light and tell your brain what time of day it is. These receptors don't care whether the light is coming from the sun or from a screen. They just react to brightness and color temperature. A phone screen at 6 in the morning, held 12 inches from your face, can deliver a jolt of blue-toned light strong enough to convince this internal clock that it's the middle of the day, even though your body was still expecting a slow, gentle wake-up curve. That mismatch is where the damage quietly builds. So instead of picking up your phone, here's what people did for generations before we had smartphones. They simply looked outside. Even just 2 to 3 minutes of natural light hitting your eyes in the morning helps signal to your brain that it's time to be alert the way nature intended, without the artificial spike. If you don't have easy access to sunlight right when you wake up, even opening your curtains and sitting near a window for a few minutes can make a noticeable difference. It's free, it takes no equipment, and it works with your biology instead of against it. There's something almost poetic about this. For nearly all of human history, people had no choice but to let the sun set their internal clock. There were no screens competing for that first glance of the day. And it's only in the last 15 or so years, since smartphones became something we reach for within moments of waking, that researchers even started studying this specific pattern. In other words, this is a brand new stress on the human body, one your great-grandparents never had to deal with, and one your body has not had time to adapt to. Now let's talk about habit number 2, and this is the one that might make your morning coffee routine a little uncomfortable to think about. It's drinking coffee on an empty stomach before you've had any water. Here's what's actually happening in your body overnight. While you sleep, you go for hours without any fluid intake. By the time you wake up, you are mildly dehydrated, and your cortisol, that wake-up hormone we just talked about, is already naturally elevated in the early morning hours as part of what's called the cortisol awakening response. This is completely normal. It's your body's way of getting you moving. The problem is what most people do next. Instead of rehydrating first, they reach straight for a cup of coffee. Caffeine is a stimulant that triggers even more cortisol release. So now you've got naturally high morning cortisol, stacked on top of caffeine-induced cortisol, all while your body is already low on fluids. Some research on caffeine and stress hormones suggests that this combination can lead to a sharper spike and then a harder crash later in the day, the kind of crash that leaves you reaching for a second or third cup just to function. Think about how many people describe feeling wired but exhausted by mid-morning, jittery, but somehow still tired. That specific feeling, the one so many people just accept as normal, is very often this exact stacking effect playing out in real time. Your nervous system gets pushed into high alert before it's even had a chance to properly wake up on its own terms. And then it pays the price a few hours later when that artificial push wears off. Over months and years, repeatedly spiking cortisol first thing in the morning has been associated in various studies with increased inflammation, disrupted blood sugar regulation, and yes, faster visible skin aging, because cortisol breaks down collagen, the protein that keeps your skin firm and youthful. Some dermatology researchers have even pointed to elevated cortisol as one of the more overlooked contributors to premature fine lines, right alongside sun exposure, something most skincare marketing never mentions, because there's no cream you can sell to fix a hormone imbalance you created with your morning routine. So what did people do generations ago? Before flavored coffee creamers and energy drinks existed, they drank water first. A simple glass of water, sometimes with a little lemon, first thing in the morning, before anything else touches your lips. This rehydrates your body after hours without fluids, and gives your cortisol a chance to do its natural job without an artificial spike stacked on top of it. Then, once you've had water, if you still want your coffee, go ahead and enjoy it. Nobody's saying quit coffee forever. The point is simply sequencing. Water first, then caffeine, so your body isn't fighting an uphill battle before it's even out of bed. It's worth mentioning here that some traditional cultures took this even further, using herbal infusions instead of straight water, incorporating plants that were believed to support gentle hydration and digestion right at the start of the day. This wasn't some rare, secretive practice. It was simply common household knowledge, passed down the same way you'd learn how to season a meal or mend a shirt, until modern convenience culture slowly pushed that knowledge out of everyday households and replaced it with a drive-through coffee cup. Now here's something worth pausing on. Notice how both of these habits, the phone and the coffee, aren't dramatic or obviously dangerous. Nobody warns you about them. There's no big warning label. But that's exactly the pattern we keep finding on this channel. It's never the obvious poison that gets you. It's the quiet, repeated, socially accepted habit that nobody questions because everybody's doing it. And that's precisely why these habits are so much more dangerous in the long run than something loud and obvious. Loud dangers get warning labels. Quiet ones get repeated every single morning for decades, without anyone ever stepping in to say something. And that brings us to habit number 3, which might be the sneakiest one on this entire list, because it's not something you do. It's something you skip. I'm going to walk you through exactly what that missing habit is, why it's connected to some of the same inflammatory pathways researchers linked to chronic disease risk, and what our great-grandparents did instead, without even realizing they were protecting themselves. So what is habit number 3? It's skipping a real breakfast, and instead either eating nothing at all until lunch, or grabbing something quick and sugary like a pastry, a sugary cereal, or a flavored yogurt marketed as healthy. Here's what's happening inside your body when you do this. Overnight, your blood sugar naturally drops to its lowest point of the day. Your body is essentially running on empty by the time you wake up. Now, if the very first thing you put into your system is a wave of refined sugar or simple carbohydrates, with little to no protein or fiber to slow it down, you get a sharp spike in blood sugar, followed by an equally sharp crash about an hour or two later. Some research on blood sugar regulation suggests that repeated morning spikes like this can contribute to increased inflammation markers in the body over time, and inflammation is one of those quiet, underlying threads that researchers keep tying back to a wide range of long-term health concerns. And here's the part that really gets overlooked. That crash you feel around 10 in the morning, the sudden tiredness, the brain fog, the irritability, the craving for something sweet or another cup of coffee just to push through. That's not just a normal part of the day. That's your body reacting to a roller coaster you created within the first hour of waking up. Multiply that by every single morning for years, and you start to see how something as small as breakfast choice can quietly wear on your system over time. So what did people do before packaged cereal and grab-and-go pastries existed? They ate something slower to digest, something with natural fats, fiber, or protein, like eggs, oats, or a small handful of nuts and seeds. These foods release energy gradually instead of flooding your bloodstream all at once, which means steady energy instead of a spike and crash cycle. It's not about some extreme diet or cutting anything out completely. It's simply about giving your body a slow, steady start instead of a sugar shock before it's even fully awake. There's an old pattern worth noticing here too. Go back far enough, and almost every traditional culture built breakfast around whatever was slow and local: porridge, eggs, dense bread, root vegetables left over from the night before. Nobody was engineering a bowl of cereal in a lab to be as addictive and shelf-stable as possible. That shift from real food to manufactured food happened gradually enough that most people never noticed it happening to their own morning table. Now, this is actually a perfect moment to bring something up, because if you're someone who's already interested in natural ways to support your body instead of relying on quick fixes, you're going to want to know about this. If you've ever looked at your medicine cabinet and wondered why you're spending hundreds of dollars a year on things that only seem to manage symptoms instead of actually helping your body function the way it's supposed to, you should check out our complete research book, The Natural Pharmacy. It walks you through natural, plant-based approaches to supporting your body over 100 days, using the same kind of traditional knowledge we've been talking about in this video. You can find the link to it on our website, mentioned right in the description below. It's worth taking a look at if any of this is resonating with you so far. Alright, let's move on to habit number 4, and this one is physical. It's going from your bed straight to your desk, your car, or your couch, without any movement at all. Think about your own morning. You wake up, maybe you sit up in bed, you walk to the bathroom, then to the kitchen, then you sit down again, whether that's at a desk, in a car, or at a breakfast table. For a lot of people, especially those working from home or heading into a long commute, the body barely moves for the first hour or two of the day. Here's why that matters more than people realize. Your lymphatic system, which is responsible for clearing out waste and toxins from your tissues, doesn't have a pump like your heart does for blood. It relies almost entirely on muscle movement to circulate properly. When you go from lying still all night straight into sitting still all morning, that system stays sluggish for hours. Some research on sedentary behavior and circulation has linked prolonged stillness, especially first thing in the day, to increased stiffness, poor circulation, and even mild inflammation in joints and soft tissue over time. There's also a simpler, more immediate effect. Ever notice how stiff and groggy you feel if you skip movement in the morning compared to days when you stretch or take even a short walk? That's not just in your head. Movement helps circulate oxygen and nutrients to your muscles and brain, which is part of why people who incorporate morning movement, even something as simple as 5 minutes of stretching, often report feeling mentally sharper within the first hour of their day. Generations ago, movement in the morning wasn't something people had to plan or schedule. It happened naturally. Walking to fetch water, tending to animals, working in a garden before breakfast. Physical movement was simply woven into daily life. Today, for a lot of people, especially those working desk jobs, that natural movement has been engineered out of the day almost entirely, and it's costing us more than we realize. The fix here doesn't require a gym membership or a complicated workout routine. Even 5 to 10 minutes of gentle stretching or a short walk around your yard or block before you sit down for the day can make a measurable difference in how your body feels by midday. It's about breaking that transition from horizontal to seated and giving your body at least a few minutes of natural movement in between. Some people find it helpful to stretch while their coffee brews, or to walk to the end of the driveway and back to grab the mail, turning a small errand into a built-in movement break they'd otherwise skip entirely. Now let's talk about habit number 5, the final one on this list, and honestly, it might be the most overlooked of them all. It's immediately diving into stress, whether that's checking work emails, scrolling through upsetting news headlines, or mentally running through your entire to-do list, all before you've even had a moment of calm. Here's what happens physiologically. The moment your brain perceives a stressor, even something as small as a demanding email or a jarring headline, your body releases stress hormones to prepare you for action. This response was designed for genuine physical threats, not for a constant stream of notifications and news alerts. But your body doesn't know the difference. It reacts the same way whether you're facing a real emergency or just an overflowing inbox. The issue is timing. When this stress response gets triggered within the first few minutes of waking, before your nervous system has had any chance to settle into a calm, grounded state, it sets a tone for your entire day. Some research on stress hormone patterns suggests that people who experience a stress trigger very early in the morning tend to carry elevated stress markers for hours afterward, compared to those who ease into their day more gradually. Over time, chronic low-grade morning stress has been associated with disrupted sleep the following night, higher blood pressure readings, and the same kind of long-term inflammatory patterns we've mentioned with the other habits on this list. It all connects back to the same underlying thread. What did people do before smartphones put the entire world's problems directly into their hands within seconds of waking up? They eased in a few quiet minutes with a cup of tea, time spent outside before facing the demands of the day, prayer, reflection, or simply sitting in silence for a few minutes. These weren't formal wellness routines with an app attached to them. They were just how mornings used to work before urgency became the default setting of daily life. The fix here is simple, even if it feels difficult at first. Give yourself just 5 to 10 minutes before you check anything demanding. No emails, no news, no to-do lists. Just a quiet moment, whether that's with a warm drink, some fresh air, or simply sitting still. It's a small window, but it gives your nervous system a chance to wake up gently instead of being thrown straight into fight or flight before your feet have even hit the floor. So let's bring this all together. 5 habits, all completely normal, all things nearly everyone does without a second thought. Reaching for your phone before your eyes have adjusted. Drinking coffee before drinking water. Skipping a real breakfast for something sweet and fast. Sitting still for hours after a full night of already being still. And diving headfirst into stress before your mind has had a single quiet moment. None of these are dramatic. None of them come with a warning label. But stacked together, morning after morning, year after year, they quietly shape how your body ages, how your energy holds up, and how well your system functions over the long run. The good news is that every single one of these habits has a free, simple, natural alternative, one that people relied on for generations before modern convenience rewired our mornings without us ever noticing. You don't need to overhaul your entire life overnight. Start with just one of these 5. Look outside before you look at your phone. Drink water before your coffee. Add something slower to digest for breakfast. Move your body for a few minutes before you sit down. Give yourself a quiet moment before diving into demands. Small shifts, repeated daily, are exactly how real, lasting change happens. And if this video has gotten you curious about digging deeper into natural approaches for supporting your body, remember to check out The Natural Pharmacy using the link in the description. It's built around exactly this kind of traditional, research-backed knowledge, designed to help you take back control of your health using what nature already provides. Please remember, this is not medical advice. This is simply our deep research, compiled with sources, so if you're dealing with a major health concern, please consult a doctor first.